Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor and former chair of the House Oversight Committee, as a Utah congressman, as well as with us here today. So, Jason, what do you think about what Brian just reported last? So they get a call from Judiciary, and they call whatever is going on Capitol Hill BS. Their words.
Well, look, as the former chairman of the Oversight Committee, I can tell you that Congress has the jurisdiction to pretty much investigate anything, anywhere. And it is regular and common practice for the House of Representatives as well as the Senate to investigate and bring forth governors, attorneys general, treasurers. And there's no reason to think that because you're a prosecutor, you get some special treatment and it's hands off. And Congress has never recognized the idea that, hey, just because there's an ongoing investigation, you can't be touched. I mean, they're still investigating 9/11, for goodness sake. You think Congress was just going to sit around and not do anything until the feds got done with their investigation? So there are a lot of circumstances. Jim Jordan, the chairman of Judiciary, James Comer, the chairman of Oversight, they make a valiant case. And if there's a duly issued subpoena that is served by United States Marshals, you better darn well appear before the United States Congress. That's not optional.
Yeah, not optional. And I wouldn't antagonize people with power by cussing at them. But look, let's get back to just the possibility now of where we are with this indictment. They've been talking about this, the grand jury, for days now. They've been looking at this case. And within the Trump camp, and you might expect them to say, oh, they've secretly or quietly dropped the case. I've been saying all along, because of the efficacy of the evidence of this case, that it might not reach indictment. And I've said it pretty strongly at times, especially when Alvin Bragg, his old boss Cy Vance, and the DOJ all passed on this initially.
Yeah, this is such a weak case. I think Democrats at the national level behind the scenes are looking at this saying, really, this is what we're going to go after the guy? They've been going after Donald Trump since he descended that golden escalator. They've never been able to get him. After the Mueller probe, I think that should have been the definitive moment to say, okay, we gave him a political enema like nobody else, and there's nothing there. The guy has to actually commit a crime to actually be indicted, and he hasn't done that. And so if they're going to try to indict him on this weak case, it's just going to be an embarrassment to the whole judicial system.
So the American public should know the odds and ends of whatever is happening with a former president, a current president. You've got the Hunter Biden investigation going on, too.
Sure.
Everybody should basically be covering a lot of the same stories, the border, whatever. But we know it doesn't work that way, especially in this case. Senator Ron Johnson is calling out the differences in treatment of former President Trump and the first son, Hunter Biden. Let's watch.
We probably have a multiple-tier system of justice. You're one for the well-connected Democrats, the kid glove treatment that Hunter Biden certainly has experienced. Is there a serious investigation? We really don't know. This is obviously politicized prosecution of President Trump. You saw the way the news media handled the January 6th committee. It's not a fair fight. It's not a level playing field.
According to a review by the Media Research Center, Jason, on March 19th, just days after the Hunter bank record story broke, the four liberal Sunday talk shows spent nearly 47 minutes on possible Trump indictment and exactly 0 minutes on the new Hunter Biden developments uncovered by House Oversight Chair James Comer. And that was based on subpoena records from the actual banks.
Yeah, one is based on actual documentation that was unearthed, and the other is just another series of salacious rumors. And this is why a majority, I believe, of America looks at this and said the application of justice is a two-way street. That Lady Justice isn't wearing a blindfold. She peeks under there to see if it's a Republican or a Democrat, if it's Trump or not a Trump, and then makes a decision as to whether or not pursue it. And shame on the major news outlets of this nation who have lacked total intellectual curiosity to go find out the truth about. ABC News at this point still has not verified whether or not that laptop is Hunter Biden's. Every other news organization is at least now saying, well, yeah, that laptop is true. ABC News is not even taking a look at it at this point. And that is just so fundamentally, totally wrong. Hunter Biden admits crimes in his book. And we have receipts that are there that show, money flowing overseas while Joe Biden is the vice president of the United States. You had the former FBI director, Louis Freeh, admitting in a text that he gave $100,000 to Joe Biden's grandkids. So what excuse is there for that, Harris? They say, we do legitimate work. What's the excuse for giving $100,000 to Joe Biden's grandkids?
Well, we don't know. And that's the whole point. And it's where I started. The American public needs to know the ramp up, just the coverage of this has to be even, no matter who's in the crosshairs of it. By the way, those suspicious activity reports, 150 plus for the family of the Bidens. I mean, there's just so much there to dig into. And it's unfortunate because when it all breaks off, it'll still end up where it's going to end up. The American public won't have seen that journey. All right, a new threat now from Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Putin wants to put tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. That's Ukraine's neighbor to the north. This would mark the very first time Russia has moved its nuclear weapons outside its border since the 1990s. Putin says the move is in response to Great Britain sending armor-piercing ammunition to Ukrainian forces. The White House says it sees no imminent risk, but Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher says America should not dismiss Putin's threat. Watch.
We have not seen any indication that he's made good on this pledge or moved any nuclear weapons around. We've in fact seen no indication that he has any intention to use nuclear weapons, period.
Putin has engaged in nuclear saber rattling since the start of this crisis. It's something to be concerned about, but we should not allow his threats to deter us. We can't allow that to be a cause for delaying critical weapons system that we need to deliver to the Ukrainians.
Meanwhile, critics say President Biden's foreign policy has led to this.
When you project weakness, you invite aggression and war. We're seeing, you saw the peace on Iran getting aggressive, and now Putin now invading Ukraine, and Chairman Xi in China threatening Taiwan and the Pacific. All these things are happening at the same time. And it's not by accident.
For America, it matters because you now have these two powers combined working against the interests of the United States of America. The fact that the Biden administration has let this happen is absolutely tragic and unnecessary.
Jason, who is putting America first?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a president currently who doesn't seem very engaged in this. He's not a good communicator. He hasn't talked a tough hand. We do need to continue to push NATO to make sure that we have the strength that we have there. But we got to be able to fight on the East, and we got to be able to fight in the West. And we got to make sure that our United States military is properly prepared to deal with both sets of issues. But increasingly, all we hear about is a lot of these woke, policies as opposed to fighting and winning wars, and the depletion of our strategic petroleum reserve, the depletion now by shipping ammunition and other weapon systems over to Ukraine. Are we able to fight on both fronts?
That's a great question.
And those are legitimate concerns.
Your line, Biden is not a good communicator, has got to be one of the understatements of the century. Jason Chaffetz, thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.